How is the result of your physical test this time? So. What happened to you? Don't mention it. The result of this exercise still failed, what can I do? In the classroom, the voices kept ringing. Chen Heng looked around, looked at the familiar faces around him, and then listened to what they were saying. He couldn't help but twitch his mouth. At this time, he was a little doubtful about life. Even if he has traveled into this world for more than half a month, he still can't help but feel a little uncomfortable. The world has changed. Listening to the whispers of the classmates around him, Chen Heng shook his head and took out a book from the desk. Is different from the familiar books in past memories. This time he escaped from an old and thick book. The packaging of the book looks very simple, with a few large characters written on it. The basics of physical training. Then, Chen Heng drew from the desk again. The theory of physical training, the history of martial arts, the reason for the birth of abilities. A series of books are placed in front of him, and they can be read as novels in the world before Chen Heng. Harm. Looking at these, Chen Heng couldn't help sighing. To be honest, he was very excited at the meeting just now. Rengzing I, who can have no regrets? When I returned to high school, it happened that many regrets in my memory had a chance to be restored. Just when he was full of excitement and ambition, and wanted to do a big business in this world, the reality gave him a heavy blow. The world has changed. He is indeed reborn in the past, and the people around him are still those in his memory. The relatives, friends, and other familiar people around are still there, and there is not much change. Is just the opposite, the world has also changed. This is a world with martial arts. In this world, learning is no longer just about learning Chinese, math, and English, but also martial arts. It can even be said that the achievements of martial arts are about life. Take the high school in front of you. When Chen Heng was in high school, he only needed to learn Chinese, math, and English, plus some minor lessons. But in this world, there are many more lessons for no reason, most of which are related to martial arts. Don't know why there is such a big change. Thinking back to the various things in this world, Chen Heng sighed inexplicably. Fortunately, his start was pretty good. In the original world, his high school grades were pretty good. Although he was not top-notch, he ranked among the top 10 in his class. And in this world, not only did he get good grades in cultural courses, but he also got good grades in martial arts. All aspects of quality are still top-notch. This is a point worthy of comfort. However, this is not enough. In this world, in order to have a good way out in the future, besides the cultural class must meet the standards, the martial arts score is even more important. Sitting alone at the desk, Chen Heng thought alone, cultural classes are easy to say. There are still more than half a year. I will work hard to review for a while and always meet the standard. But Wu Kei. He frowned secretly. Before, although he had left school and entered the society, he still had the foundation for many years, combined with the memory of the world. As long as he worked harder, he should be able to reach the standard in the culture class. But it's just that the cultural class meets the standard, which is of no use at all. At most, I can only go to some ordinary schools. Those top schools do not need to have top martial arts scores to qualify for the exam. In the cultural class, Chen Heng still had a little confidence, but in the martial arts class, he was completely helpless. I can only hope that this thing can be a little bit stronger. Chen Heng sighed softly, then looked aside. As his mind moved, in front of him, a group of numbers began to appear. Current points, 19. 19, it happens to be the time when I came to this world. Looking at the numbers in front of him, this thought flashed through Chen Heng's mind. The row of numbers in front of him was brought by him as soon as he crossed over. Has been in this world for more than half a month, and he has not figured out what use this thing is for. I only know that as time goes by, the number of this stuff will continue to increase and become bigger and bigger. However, Chen Hung didn't know what it was useful for. Sat down on the desk, he raised his head and looked at the front podium. On the podium, a clock hung, and the time on it was almost 12 noon. He just stared at that clock, silently watching the time of that clock go by. Ding! There were bursts of crisp sounds. Outside, a burst of radio echoed. Get out of class has ended. All around, the surrounding students shouted, and the whole class boiled directly. But for these, Chen Hung didn't care, just stared at the front, staring there. Under his gaze, the numbers in front of him began to change. Current points, 20. A brand new number appeared in front of us. At this moment, the number above has become 20. No other changes. Looking at the points in front of him, Chen Hung was a little surprised. In fact, he has always felt inexplicable about this thing on himself. Earlier, he could vaguely feel that when his points reached this level, there should be some change. But now, is it an illusion? He was puzzled and disappointed. Just at this moment, in front of my eyes, a brand new interface also began to emerge. A hazy feeling began to emerge. In front of my eyes, it was like putting on a layer of reading glasses for an instant, and an awkward feeling came from before my eyes. Chen Hung couldn't help shaking his head, and then continued to look in front of him. I saw that at this moment, a new change appeared before my eyes. The conditions are met, do you start the simulation? A line of brand new handwriting appeared before my eyes. Simulate. Looking at the brand new handwriting in front of him, Chen Hung was stunned, and then he saw that there was a new change in front of him. The interface in front of me changed rapidly, and an operation interface that looked like a game interface appeared. The upper row of light spots appeared, but at this moment, only the first light spot was lit, and it was shining brightly. What is this? Looking at the interface in front of him, Chen Hung was stunned for a long time before continuing to look. He looked forward subconsciously, at the first spot of light that shined. As his gaze focused, some writing began to emerge on the spot of light. The Wizarding World, the threshold, 20 points. Do you want to start the simulation? No. Chen Hung subconsciously chose to refuse. He is still in school at the moment, it is not suitable to try. It's not too late to try in a safe environment when I get home. There is no need to rush for a while. The entry barrier is 20 points, no wonder it only opens at this time. Chen Hung understood a little bit, but then he was a little surprised. As for what the so-called simulation meant, he probably had some ideas at the moment, but he couldn't confirm it yet. But no matter how you guess it in your heart, you have to practice it to be clear. At this point, he got up from where he was and looked around. Is around now, after such a short moment, the classmates around him have basically finished walking. There are only a few people sitting in the classroom, or reading, or chatting. Chen Hung simply tidied up his things and walked towards the home. His home is not far from the school. Even if you walk on foot, it is only 10 minutes away. Soon, an old community came into view. Walking into it familiarly, Chen Hung returned to his home. Came back. Back home, a sound came from the kitchen. There, a middle-aged woman in her early 40s and wearing an apron was busy there. After hearing the voice, she turned her head and looked at Chen Hung. How do you feel today? Fortunately, the lessons are not too difficult. Chen Hung nodded, looked at the hall, and then said, where is my sister? She? I don't know where to fool around, right? Wang Li shook his head, said casually, and then continued, get ready to eat. Chen Hung nodded, did not say much, silently put down his school bag, and sat aside. Sat there, even though he had returned home, he couldn't calm down, so after thinking about it, he took a book and read it alone to calm his mind. After a while, there was another footstep outside. A figure came from outside. This is the figure of a woman, she is still tall and looks pretty, but she wears heavy makeup on her face and high heels on her feet. You skipped class again and went fooling around. Looking at the woman's appearance, Yu reading www.yuganju. Wang Li couldn't help but speak. Nothing dealing with you. Chen Jing put down her bag and said casually, just cook your meal. You, alas. Wang Li stood there, looking a little angry, but in the end, she said nothing. Chen Hung raised his head and looked at his sister. His family is a reorganization of the family. Among them, Chen Hung is the child of Wang Li and his ex-husband. He only changed his surname after remarrying. As for Chen Jing, she is the elder sister of Chen Hung in name, but she is actually not related by blood. However, compared to Chen Heng's honest and step-by-step schooling, Chen Jing appears to be a lot more special. She skipped classes as early as high school, often ran out and messed with all kinds of people. In Chen Heng's original impression, in 2 years, she will hook up with a man and get pregnant. Of course, in this world, I don't know how it will develop. How are you studying recently? Took out a bottle of Coke from the refrigerator. Chen Jing sat next to Chen Hung, looked at him and smiled. Fortunately, this exam performed well and ranked 5th in the class in the cultural class. Chen Hung put down the book in his hand and spoke. Where is Wu Kei? Chen Jing continued to ask, very concerned. You can only rank in the top 20. Chen Hung thought for a while, and said so. That's fine too. Chen Jing nodded, put more kung fu on martial arts. In these years, cultural classes are useless, but martial arts are useful. Speaking of which, my boyfriend is a martial arts student, now he has completed his bodybuilding, next time I ask him to come and teach you. Boyfriend? Chen Hung thought for a while, a little unsure which one was in his memory. This elder sister has had so many boyfriends since she was a child, that Chen Hung has no way of judging which one the other party is talking about. The things Xiao Hung is studying, just have me and your dad watching, and you don't need to worry about it. At exactly this moment, Wang Li's voice came. Looking at Chen Jing, she was very polite, and said directly, just the friends you made, don't call to harm Xiao Hung. Chen Jing opened her eyes wide, and rushed up in her heart, wanting to refute. But in the end, she still didn't have an episode. Chen Hung patted her on the shoulder and shook his head at her, don't be angry, let's eat now. Chen Jing snorted coldly, but it still didn't happen, just said nothing, and ate there. After eating, she didn't stay and went out without any intention of staying at home. Looking at her background, Chen Hung sighed, then said, Mom, I will go back to my room and rest first. Well, you don't have to go to class this afternoon, so you can sleep more. Wang Li said casually while washing the dishes. Chen Hung nodded, then walked closer to his room. Approached the room, he thought for a while, changed his clothes, and lay on the bed. Do you want to start the simulation? In front of his eyes, following his gaze, familiar handwriting appeared again. Looking at this line of handwriting, Chen Hung was inexplicably worried. Yes. He took a deep breath and chose to agree. Accompanied by the choice, his clear space, on the side of the point column, the original number quickly returned to 0. 20 days of accumulation, directly returned to 0. Then, the interface in front of me changed. Please choose your character. A line of handwriting appeared before my eyes, just like that. Chen Hung looked at him. I can only see it in front of my eyes. At this moment, there have been many changes on it. Many options emerged, and they were there waiting for him to choose. The story is about to begin. You project into this strange world and become a member of a strange family. The wizard family. You are from a wizarding family. Both your parents are wizards, or only one of them is a wizard. You were born into a wizarding family and have good resources. Compared with ordinary mortals, you are born to stand at their end. Your body is filled with noble blood. Naturally, it is better than many people. Both body and wisdom are naturally stronger than ordinary people. Redemption points, 3,000 to 3 million. Noble family. You are from a noble family, and both of your parents are nobles, or only one of them is noble. You were born in an aristocratic family and have good resources. Compared with ordinary mortals, you are born at their end. There is a thin and noble blood in your body, which is naturally better than many people, and both body and wisdom are naturally better than ordinary people. Redemption points, 1,000 to 3,000,003. Ordinary family. You were born in an ordinary family, and both of your parents are ordinary people. Compared with the nobles, your family background is ordinary, maybe poor, maybe rich, but still belong to the mortal class. Everything about you is ordinary, not worthy of any attention. Redemption points, 0 to 10,004. Interracial family. You were born into an alien family, and you were born as an elf. A message appeared in front of my eyes, just what Chen Heng saw in front of him. There were at least thousands. These thousands of choices cover all kinds of choices, including noble wizards and humble kobolds. Everything you can think of is contained in it. This is the choice of identity. Chen Heng looked at it seriously. Some of these identities seem to require very few points, such as kobolds and ordinary families. The minimum standard does not require any points to enter. But some choices, such as the so-called wizard family, are too high to die, and even the lowest points required are scary. Looking at these, Chen Heng can probably understand the effect of these choices. This so-called choice of identity refers to the identity that should become after choosing to simulate. As for the different points required, it should be the difference of the same identity. After all, even if it is the same identity and the same family, the differences are often turned upside down. Billionaires with a net worth of 100 million and a net worth of trillions can be said to be billionaires, but can you say that they are the same? Is also a person. Sometimes the difference between people is greater than that between people and dogs. This is the difference of this choice. According to Chen Heng's understanding, after choosing an identity, the next step is to choose the points to consume. The more points consumed, the better the natural identity should be the reason. But at this moment, Chen Heng has no choice at all. He doesn't have any points on him, so naturally he can't do anything. At this moment, he can only choose those identities that don't need points at all. So, his gaze skipped the many options and looked directly at the option of ordinary families. Confirm. After, many options disappeared, and then a line of writing appeared. Please choose the talent you want to add. A brand new handwriting emerged, and then many options emerged again. Wizard talent. You have the talent of a wizard, which determines that you can become a wizard and have the qualifications to become a wizard. Redemption points, 1,000 to 100,000. Knight talent. You have the talent to become a knight, which determines whether you can have life energy, become an excellent knight, and have the qualifications to become a knight. Redemption points, 100 to 10,000. Memory talent. You have a superb memory, your memory is far beyond ordinary people. Redemption points, 10 to 1004. Physical talent. You have superhuman physical quality, your body has grown stronger since childhood, more than ordinary people. Redemption points, 10 to 105. Understanding talent. You have a superhuman understanding ability, you have a strong learning ability since childhood, and a strong understanding of various things. Redemption points, 10 to 10,000. Various options once again appeared before Chen Heng. They all look good, but it's a pity. Chen Heng looked at the price and couldn't help but twitched the corner of his mouth. Did not hesitate, these choices were directly ignored by him. Then, the many choices in front of me disappeared one by one, and new choices began to emerge. Please choose the time of manipulation. This time, the option that emerged was time. The time shown above, the default is 20 years old. Chen Heng glanced roughly. It seems that this time can be controlled by yourself, but the further you go, the more points you need. From the age of 20 onwards, every year, 10 points are consumed. In other words, if I want to start with a baby, I need to invest 200 points before I have done anything. Chen Heng thoughtfully got this result. But at this moment, he doesn't have any hesitation about the option in front of him, and he just defaults to starting from the age of 20. After all, at this moment, he still has nothing. After choosing the age, the interface in front of you began to disappear. A golden light appeared in front of him, occupying the line of sight. Chen Heng raised his head and looked to the front. He just saw that in the front, there seemed to be a golden door open, which directly sucked him in. Darkness, chaos. A hazy feeling came from him. Chen Heng woke up from the drowsiness and gradually recovered. When he regained consciousness, he found that the place he was at the moment had changed. The place in front of her eyes is a dim forest, surrounded by big trees, standing at this moment. And he is standing there at the moment, holding a bow in his hand, seeming to be aiming into the distance. This is... Looking at the bow in his hand, Chen Heng was stunned. At the last moment, he was still in his warm room, but in a blink of an eye, the next moment, he came to a strange jungle and stood there. Then, in my mind, a large number of memories quickly rose. Soran, 20 years old, an ordinary hunter in the Salo area. A large number of memories quickly flooded into my mind, including Soran's 20 years of memory. Of course, as far as Chen Heng is concerned, these memories are separated by a layer, and now they are a little hazy. This is what simulation means. Chen Heng covered his head and changed it after a while. Knowing who he is at the moment, he looked at him. In front of my eyes, you reading www. The familiar points column of yuyuganshu.com is still there, but there are a few more words on it at the moment, and it shows as being simulated. An inexplicable feeling emerged, allowing Chen Heng to understand his current situation. At this moment, he is already in simulation. However, as long as he wants, he can withdraw from the simulation at any time and return to his own world. At the same time, no matter how much time has passed in the simulation, in the real world, it will always be just a moment. After understanding these clearly, Chen Heng stabilized his mind. What he fears most is that when he goes back, his original body has starved to death. Now that this situation will not happen, he naturally has nothing to fear. Standing still, Chen Heng thought about it. His identity at the moment is a hunter, and his area is called Salo. He was born in a hunter family, and his father was also an excellent hunter, but he was old and didn't have much strength. Solo himself is also an excellent hunter. Although he is not very old, he is already very famous in this generation. Realizing his identity, Chen Heng left from here, followed the route in his memory, and returned to his home. Then, he lived in this place the way he remembered. He lives on this land like the past sorrow, and everything seems to be no different from the past. The only difference is that compared to the past Soran, this time, when no one sees him, he will secretly do some weird movements and constantly train himself. These weird movements have another name in the world where Chen Heng lives, and that is the bodybuilding method, also known as the basic bodybuilding method. Time gradually passed, and before I knew it, 5 years passed. In 5 years, Chen Heng's reputation in the local area has grown and he has gradually become known by many people. Many people know that he is the most famous hunter in the local area and a hunter with superb skills. Of course, all of this also has the credit of the exercise method. The physical forging method in the real world, although only the basis of martial arts, is also a genuine forging method. For people who have never exercised, this exercise method has a good exercise effect. Chen Heng can make himself an excellent hunter in the past 5 years by relying on this exercise. In 5 years, he has barely completed most of the forging. According to the standards of the real world, he can be regarded as the number 1 person. At least in Chen Heng's class, is definitely number 1. Of course, this is piled up with time, and it's nothing in itself. After all, he uses his existing experience to practice, plus 5 years. If he does not reach this level, it would be strange. But even so, he is still far away from the forging perfection, and there is still a long way to go. Chen Heng felt that if he wanted to cultivate in this way to complete the forging, he estimated that he would still have 3 to 4 years. I really don't know how those freaks who had perfected their bodies before the age of 18 appeared. After confirming his progress, Chen Heng was a little speechless and didn't know what to say at this time. It can only be said that the gap between people is sometimes greater than that between people and dogs. Counting time, this year is the 5th year that Chen Heng has been here. In this year, there was some movement in the originally peaceful mountain village. Are you the most famous hunter here? A tall young man stood in front of Chen Heng, standing there looking at him, looking like this, it seemed to be examining him. Good morning, sir. Chen Heng's face was very calm, looking at the young man's dress in front of him, his face showed some respect in a timely manner. What can I do for you? The young man in front of him was dressed in a nice red robe with a delicate short sword. In the local area, red can only be used by nobles, and that exquisite short sword is obviously not something ordinary people can have. Obviously, these people are either rich or expensive, and most of them are of noble origin. My people and I want to catch a white deer in the mountains. The young man was obviously satisfied with Chen Heng's taste and respect, and then he said, as a reward, I will give you a lot of money. Listening to this, Chen Heng's eyes lit up. We are happy to help. He looked respectful, looked at the youth in front of him, and said softly. Soon, with the young man in front of him and the 2 entourages behind him, Chen Heng quickly entered the mountain. Walking on the road, Chen Heng is thinking about the possibility of killing the youth. Beforehand, he had already talked about it. The young man in front of him didn't seem to be very wary of him, and he soon found out some information. The young man's name is Corando, and he is the son of a knight in the area. The reason why I came here this time was to celebrate my mother's birthday, so I needed some special gifts. A child of a knight will probably have the existence of the knight practice, even if it doesn't, he knows some basics. On the road, Chen Heng has already tried. Sorando's father is a knight, but his own strength does not seem to be strong. Just after walking for a while, he is already a little panting. Looking at it like this, it is hard to believe how strong he is. If there is a fight, Chen Heng is confident to settle the opponent quickly. Chen Heng looked around and followed Sorando. The 2 followers who had been following, finally dispelled the idea. Sorando's strength is ordinary, but the 2 guards around him are obviously extraordinary. He may not be able to do it alone. And looking at the physique of Sorando, it doesn't look like how much night training he has undergone. Most of them don't know how exquisite night breathing is. After thinking about it, Chen Heng still dispelled his plan to play the black hand. Walking on the road, his face was respectful, and he explained to Sorando some things that had happened in this forest. From time to time, he made Sorando laugh. He looked like he appreciated Chen Heng very much. As for Bailu, Chen Heng also quickly found it. After 5 years in the local area, this forest is like his own home to him. It is clear where there is something. In just a few days, Sorando got what he wanted. Before leaving, Sorando kept the bag full of gold coins in front of Chen Heng as agreed. Chen Heng shook his head and chose to refuse. Why refuse? Sorando was a little puzzled, but you think I gave too little? No, you have given too much. Chen Heng sighed deeply. Mr. Sorando, you are the most noble and glorious person I have ever seen on weekdays. It is my honor to meet and get acquainted with someone like you. Reward. Sorando was stunned. No matter how thick-skinned he was a little embarrassed at this time. In normal times, he is only the son of a knight. Although his identity is better than that of ordinary people, he is not much higher. When has he been praised so much? Especially, the person who praised him was not an ordinary person, but a skilled and very powerful hunter. You are serious. He flushed, thinking about how to respond, but he heard Chen Heng speak again in front of him. If you don't dislike it, I am willing to be your most loyal follower and a sharp knife in your hand. I saw Chen Heng knelt down on one knee with a sincere expression. A noble person like you is a role model for my life. Please allow me to be loyal to you and clear the obstacles ahead for you. This. Sorondo was taken aback for a moment, then was taken aback. You want to follow me? The following and loyalty to this world are not just talk. Once you choose to be loyal, you will never betray you for a lifetime, otherwise you will be rejected by everyone. Of course, the so-called allegiance and following are actually the rules in the circle of nobles, such as Chen Heng, a commoner. Under normal circumstances, they are not qualified to follow a noble. But that said, but now is not the past after all. During the war, any warrior who can draw a sword is welcome. Besides, Sorondo is not a serious nobleman. He is just the son of a knight. Therefore, Chen Heng's sudden allegiance is actually very tempting to him. He looked at Chen Heng's sturdy and tall body, then recalled his previous brave posture against beasts, and couldn't help nodding. In this way, Chen Heng became a follower of Sorondo. Following Sorondo, Chen Heng left his village and went to the territory of Sorondo's father. He has no worries about this. His physical mother has already passed away due to an accident. As for his father, he also died of a flu in the first 2 years. He is alone now, without much worries. Sorondo's father welcomed Chen Heng's arrival. These years, there are riots everywhere, like Chen Heng, who seems to be able to use force. Naturally, the more the better. Especially after Chen Heng showed his skills and was no less inferior to the guards under him, he was even more surprised. The territory of the knight is not for nothing. It also needs captive guards and followers to defend its territory, and send troops when needed to respond to the call of its lord. It is not easy to train real fighters. For a brave fighter like Chen Heng, naturally the more the better. In this way, Chen Heng joined Sorondo's father's territory. Time slowly passed, and before I knew it, another 5 years passed. One night, Sorondo called Chen Heng to his house. Solo, my brother. Compared to 5 years ago, Sorondo still looks young now, but he appears to be much more mature. In the past 5 years, Chen Heng has not given up contact with Sorondo's father while working for Sorondo's father. The two have always maintained a good relationship. Like today, when talking secretly in the middle of the night, it's not once or twice. But this time, it was different. In the spacious house, Sorondo sat alone, his face uncertain. Can I trust you? Of course, sir. Chen Heng did not hesitate, knelt down on one knee, and said, as long as you give an order, I can do anything for you. Looking at Chen Heng's unhesitating attitude, Sorondo sighed with relief. Yu read www.yuyuganshu.com, then hesitated for a while before he said, I have one thing, and I need you to advise me. My father, I'm going to die. He hesitated for a moment, and finally said that. What? Chen Heng was taken aback for a moment, with some inexplicable surprises. Sorondo's father, the Sicilian knight, is a true knight. According to the standards of this world, the Sicilian knight is well educated as a knight, and possesses the talent of a knight. He is a knight who has awakened life energy. Some time ago, Chen Heng had also seen the Sicilian knights, and the opponents had returned from an expedition and looked very mighty. There is no sign of dying at all. Seeming to see Chen Heng's doubts, Suolongdo sighed and continued, the use of life energy will cause many problems for himself, and even shorten his life. My father, he. Having said this, he sighed again and did not continue. Chen Heng immediately understood what the other party meant. According to his inquiries over the years, what this so-called knight uses is something called life energy. The use of life energy will make the knight extremely powerful, but at the same time it will also damage the knight, and even shorten the lifespan. Sorondo's father, the Sicilian knight, must be so. According to what I know, my father has only 2 years of life left at most. Sorondo sighed, his face turned gloomy. After that, Kelly will inherit the Sicilian collar and become the new territory of this generation. Chen Hung immediately understood what the other party meant. Sorondo, indeed the child of the Sicilian knight, is a member of the nobility. It's just, but not the eldest son, and he doesn't have outstanding knight talent. According to the rules of this era, after the death of the Sicilian knight, his eldest son, Carey, should inherit the knighthood and everything. As for Sorondo, except for some possible severance pay, nothing else. More importantly, as far as Chen Hung knows, Sorondo and his brother Charlie seem to have a very bad relationship with each other. If Charlie inherits the title, it is very likely that Sorondo will be kicked away. According to the unspoken rules of this era, it is not impossible to secretly kill. Sorondo must be worried about this at this moment. Solo, my dearest brother, what do you think I should do? Sorondo sighed deeply, looked at Chen Hung, and said. What should I do? Do you have to ask me? Chen Hung was silent for a while, then raised his head. Your Excellency, what do you think of Sir Charlie's character? This is a shameless, mean villain. Speaking of Charlie, Sorondo's face suddenly became gloomy. I have always wondered whether he is my father's biological child. Then you think, if Sir Charlie inherits the title, what will he do to you? Chen Hung stepped forward and continued to ask. It will give you enough money to live, drive you out of the territory and go to other places to live. Or leave you behind, take up some humble positions in the territory, and barely rely on it to survive. Or, having said that, he paused, and then he said, send someone to take you directly. Sorondo's face suddenly darkened. He knew that according to his brother's character, what Chen Hung said was likely to happen. Dear sir, are you really willing to accept this ending? At this time, Chen Hung suddenly knelt on one knee and said earnestly, accept such a bleak ending. But Sorondo's expression became hesitant. After all, he is my elder brother, the heir of the Sicilian collar. What can I do? Anything can happen before the real estate is inherited. Chen Hengekuo broke his mouth and looked at Sorondo suddenly. As long as Sir Charlie dies of illness, then everything can be changed. You know, Sicilian knight, only you and Sir Charles. Sick to death. Sorondo was stunned. His face no longer hesitated at this time, but his eyes were fixed on Chen Hung. It's just that Charlie has Sir Edward by his side, how could I be his opponent? The voice fell, and Chen Hung secretly breathed a sigh of relief as he felt Sorondo's attitude. He was scared, and Sorondo had a nerve in his mind and he dared not do this. But now it seems that the other party already has an idea in his heart. Please leave it to me. Without any hesitation, Chen Hung said directly, although Sir Edward is also a knight, he is old after all, and his power is no longer as good as before. In the Oneonan situation, I am confident that I can beat him. Really? Suolongdo stood up and looked at Chen Hung with a certain excitement. Of course. Chen Hung nodded without hesitation, and then spoke again, it's just that, in order to ensure victory, I need a little help. What would you like? Sorondo did not hesitate, and said directly, sharp weapons, strong armor, or deadly poison and bows. Do not. Chen Hung shook his head, and then his head fell deeply, his face became extremely respectful. I hope I can obtain part of the night breathing technique. Do you want to practice night breathing? Sorondo was stunned, his face hesitated at this time. This thing must be a night aptitude to practice, it may not be useful to you. It's okay. Chen Hung lowered his head, his posture remained unchanged, as long as there is a little enhancement effect. In the next battle, any increase in strength is extremely important. His face was earnest, so he spoke. Night breathing method, this is actually his purpose. In this world, the night breathing method belongs to the nobles. As long as the noble family with a long inheritance can have such inheritance. Chen Hung became a follower of Sorondo and worked hard for his father for this. And now, the opportunity has finally come. This. Listening to Chen Heng's words, Sorondo's expression was uncertain, and he became extremely hesitant at this moment. Stood there, he was silent for a long time, finally thinking about his situation at the moment, still gritted his teeth. Okay. Night breathing method, I can give it to you. He took a deep breath, looked at Chen Hung, and finally said, I hereby promise that as long as I become the Lord of Sicily, I will give you our family's night breathing method completely. The voice of fell, and Chen Heng's face suddenly showed a touch of emotion. This. Your Excellency. You are welcome. Sorondo stepped forward and helped him up, his expression extremely sincere. After all, you are my closest brother, just like Sir Edward and my father. I also hope that we can always maintain this friendship until the end of life. Click. After a while, Chen Hung looked calm and walked out of Sorondo's room. He looked around, confirmed that there was no one else around, and walked to his room alone. Came to his room, he took out a piece of yellow paper from his arms. The yellow paper looks a bit worn out, it should be some years old, and there are many things written on it in the words of this world. Chen Hung looked down, and then his face showed joy. It should be true, just not complete. This thought flashed through his mind. In the past few years, he has not been in vain. Apart from his busy schedule, he is also using his martial arts knowledge to analyze the night breathing method in this world. According to his experience, this night breathing method should be genuine, and there are not many problems in practicing. Think about it, after all, in the current situation, no matter how stupid Sorondo is, he shouldn't be fooled by fake breathing methods. As for only the basic part, it is quite easy to understand. Sorondo doesn't have many night talents himself, and the night education he has received is only the basic part. Therefore, the night breathing method he knows is naturally only the basic part. After scanning the night breathing method in front of him, Chen Hung started to move after confirming to remember it. Inside the house, he stretched his hands and feet, twisted in a unique posture, and began to constantly stimulate himself. After warming up, he took out something from the side. It was a black ointment, it looked very black, like a stone, it looked very special. On top of it, a unique flavor spreads out, and people can't help but frown. This is the auxiliary medicine needed by the night's practice, and it was also delivered by Chen Hung from Sorondo. In this world, night's practice is not an easy task. In the initial stage, unless other knights input life energy to assist, they need unique medicines to assist, otherwise it is difficult to get started. After applying the ointment all over the body, a violent sensation of hot heat emerged from all parts of the body. May not be too strong at the beginning, but in the end it has become so strong that one can't help but scream. This feeling is somewhat similar to the burning of blood. Feeling this feeling, Chen Hung frowned, this thought flashed in his mind. In the real-world exercise method, there are related concepts of qi and blood. The warrior can also burn his own energy and blood under special circumstances to achieve the purpose of enhancing combat power and even practice. Now, Chen Heng's feeling is somewhat similar to this. He endured the severe pain, frowned and started practicing. According to the description of the knight's breathing method, he began to work hard to do various movements and practice hard. With the passage of time, Chen Heng's sensation of blazing heat continued to weaken, and in the end, a refreshing sensation emerged, bringing another experience. Time passed by, and Chen Hung felt weaker and weaker. In the end, it was close to nothing. A new sense of exhaustion appeared on the body. Sure enough, I don't have the talent of a knight. Feeling how he felt, Chen Hung sighed. According to what Sorondo said, if you have the qualifications of a knight, you will be more excited during the training process, and there will be a sense of pleasure that you don't want to stop. But Chen Heng did not feel this way. On the contrary, some were just tired. Looking like this, his body doesn't have any night talent. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com, but this is no wonder. The identity he simulated was just obtained without consuming any points. It would be nice if you didn't lack arms and legs. Do you still want knighthood? Dreaming. Chen Heng had only had the mentality to give it a try before, and didn't really hope for it. Now that hope is shattered, he is not disappointed, just sighed. Fortunately, it's somewhat useful. He felt his state at the moment, and this thought flashed in his mind. At this moment, he can feel the exercise effect of night training on the body, which is not inferior to the exercise method. Using the night breathing method with exercise training, it seems that the effect will be better. Feeling the changes in his body, Chen Heng thoughtfully. Perhaps, with this breathing method, the time from his cultivation to the completion of his body building can also be much faster. I just don't know. Compared with the knights in this world, the perfect forging body is worse in strength. At this moment, this thought flashed through his mind. Time slowly passed. After Chen Heng had a close conversation with Sorondo that day, everything went on again. On the surface, they are business as usual, as if they don't know anything. The Sicilian caller also maintained the surface calm. Just like that, 2 years passed in a flash. Boom! The outside world is thundering. A heavy rain crackled. Is Lord Sicily's illness still not healed? Chen Heng walked into the hall, looked at the tall knight in front, and said softly. Not yet. Ahead, the tall knight turned around and looked at Chen Heng. Mr. Salo, although I have known each other for a long time, I have to remind you. In front of him, the tall knight turned around and looked at Chen Heng. Under the dim light, his figure appeared in front of Chen Heng. He looked very tall and burly, but he looked very old. He looked like he was in his early 50s, and he looked very old. In this world, this is already a big number. For ordinary civilians, this age is about to fall into the ground. Even for the knight, it is by no means a young age. However, despite his age, he still looks burly and tall, and he looks very strong. At this moment, he was standing there with huge eyes staring at Chen Heng. His face was full of seriousness. As an outsider, you, as an outsider, should not be involved in matters within the family of Sicily. Otherwise, there will be no good results. He stood there, his face was serious and his speech was very cold. Looking like this, it seems that a certain critical moment has come before him, so that he has to warn him. After all, although Chen Heng's performance has always been well behaved in recent years, Chen Heng was a follower of Sorondo after all. For Edward, who was on Charlie's side, he still had to guard against. I see. Looking at Edward in front of him, Chen Heng sighed deeply, with a little sadness on his face. I have been loyal to Master Sicily for almost 10 years. Until now, Your Excellency still doesn't want to believe me. With sadness on his face, low speech, and sentimentality, he seemed to feel sad for Edward's distrust. No, I didn't mean that. Looking at Chen Heng, it seemed that he had thought about Chen Heng's past performance. Edward's tone slowed down, and he offered comforting words. I'm just worried that you made the wrong choice. Young people always have to face all kinds of temptations, so they tend to make incorrect choices. His face slowed down, and then he said, Mr. Solo, you are still young and in the prime of life. There is no need to ruin the rest of your life because of a wrong decision. The voice fell, and Chen Heng was silent for a moment. He stood there and was silent for a long time, then he spoke and smiled. I understand naturally. Seeing him speak, Edward also smiled, then walked to him, patted him on the shoulder, and then left. He turned around from the spot, didn't pay much attention, and prepared to leave like this. Seeing this, it should be ready to do something. Wow! A breeze blew gently, rippling here. The sound of the sword breaking through the air suddenly sounded. Edward was taken aback for a moment, subconsciously on the side of his body. Boom! There was a crisp sound, followed by splashes of crimson blood. It was only a short moment, and his arm was cut directly by the sword. At least in the short term, it is impossible to continue fighting. You! Looking at Chen Hung in front of him, Edward's heart was shocked and his face was angry. Sorry. Chen Heng's face is calm, holding a long sword in his hand. The long sword was given by Sorondo, and the secret poison was deliberately wiped on it. Even if it was a bear, as long as it was contaminated, it would quickly lose its combat effectiveness. For today's stop, Chen Hung has been preparing for a long time. For the sake of Lord Soron, please go and die. His face was calm, he straight forward and swung his sword down. Boom! A sudden force came from before him. Without any hesitation, looking at Chen Hung at this moment, Edward directly topped his head and cut directly with his sword. Under a sword, the two retreated at the same time, and then continued forward. The sound of gold and iron intertwined constantly resounded here. Your power! Feeling the power from Chen Heng's body, Edward's face was furious, and at this moment he had a bad feeling. He is not an ordinary person, but a knight who has undergone knight training and is truly qualified as a knight. Even people like him, even if they are old and have injuries on their body, are definitely not something normal people can handle. Such a terrifying power was on the opposite side. Feeling the terrifying force from his hand, Chen Hung was also a little surprised. 2 years have passed. Until now, he has already perfected the body forging method. According to the standards of the real world, the body forging is completed. This level of strength, even if they are outstanding in those martial arts schools, few people can match it. But put it here, although there is still a tendency to fall behind. Edward in front of him is too terrifying. With such terrifying power, even with a casual blow, he can directly break a big tree. This is the situation where the opponent is already injured. Chen Hung couldn't imagine how terrifying the combat power would be if the opponent is in the prime of life at the moment, or is not injured. But there is no if in reality. In the spacious hall, the violent collision of swords and soldiers continued to sound, accompanied by roars. The collision between the long sword and the long sword continued, and finally it gradually fell. Edward's power slowly faded after all. No matter how unwilling he is still in his early 50s, far from his prime, and far from Chen Heng's opponent in terms of physical strength. Joining again, he was injured before, and the poison on the long sword slowly broke out, and the effect was gradually exerted. After a long stalemate, all that is ushered in is doomed to defeat. The dazzling sword light flicked across, and then a human head fell. In the hall, Chen Hung half kneeled on the ground. At this moment, his body was covered with sweat, already wet with sweat. Of course, there are wounds. Facing a knight like Edward, even if Chen Heng's own strength is not weak, it is impossible to remain unscathed. On his body, at this moment, dripping blood is also spread, flowing on his clothes, dyed in blood red. However, he survived after all. Master Solo. Outside, a sound rang. Chen Hung turned around and looked around, and just saw a guard in light armor standing there, looking at him with a little fear. Sir Sorondo invites you to come. He looked at Chen Hung and said with some fear. Lead the way. Chen Hung raised his head, his face was cold, and he spoke softly. This knight is destined to be a knight of killing. After the death of the Sicilian knight, there were only about 50 elite guards in the entire Sicilian territory. Among them, Edward Knight is the strongest. He alone is worth all the others. And when Edward Knight was killed by Chen Hung, the remaining problems no longer exist. In just one night, Chen Hung personally led people to rush and killed dozens of people alone, suppressing all resistance. Sorondo's elder brother, Sir Charlie, was forced to a desperate situation and was hanged himself by Sorando. This turmoil has ended here. Solo, my brother. In the early morning, the sun shines on the earth. Sorando looked at Chen Hung in front of him, with a very happy expression on his face. The person I sent to Solo has already responded, and the Marquis of Solo has agreed that I will be the new lord of the Sicilian leader. He patted Chen Hung on the shoulder, looking very happy. Of course, he also has reasons to be happy. The Sicilian knights only had 2 children. After Charlie's death, Sorando was the only heir to the domain. And now, his inheritance rights are also recognized. As long as a period of time passes, he will be the new lord of the Sicilian collar. I am happy for you, my lord. Chen Hung knelt on one knee, his face was sincere, and he looked extremely sincere. Sorando suddenly smiled. Solo, my brother. He poured a glass of wine from there and handed it to Chen Hung's hands. Cheers for our eternal friendship. Looking at Chen Hung, he smiled and said with a smile. But, in front of him, listening to his words, Chen Hung did not move, just stood there and stood up silently. He got up from the spot, looked at Sorando in front of him, and sighed softly, why bother? What? Sorando was stunned, as if he still didn't understand what happened. It's just that Chen Hung doesn't mean to continue talking to him. Looking at Sorando, he casually waved his hand and knocked over the wine in his hand. The wine dripped onto the ground. It seemed normal at first, but it showed an inexplicable fragrance. I don't even want to change the poison. Chen Hung sighed softly, Sir Suolongdo, you are too light-hearted. You. Sorando's body retreated. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com looked at Chen Heng's face suddenly became gloomy, as if he was a ghost. Looking at him like this, Chen Hung shook his head. Sure enough, expecting other people to develop according to their own script is a relatively extravagant thing in itself. Originally, when Chen Hung wanted to come, after the Sicilian knight died of illness and Edward Knight was killed by Chen Hung, the opponent shouldn't be so stupid to attack him. After all, in the entire Sicilian territory, Chen Hung is the only one who can rival the knight. Without Chen Hung, what would he do to suppress the territory and encircle his own territory? It's a pity that the other party didn't seem to think so much, and still couldn't bear the inheritance of his family. You honestly give me the complete night breathing method. I'm just like the Edward Knight, and honestly guard your family, isn't it good? Chen Hung sighed softly, stretched out his right arm, and silently raised the long sword on his waist. Why do you have to force me to this point? He spoke softly, and his voice kept reverberating here. Sorando's face suddenly became horrified. Wow! A crisp sound rang here. There was no too much struggle, and no more effort, but within a short time, Chen Hung directly took Sorando in front of him, and a head flew out directly. Killed Sorando, Chen Hung didn't hesitate too much, he directly raised the long sword in his hand and killed him from then on. With his current force, no one in the entire Sicilian collar is his opponent. Those guards who have lost their master will not risk their lives and fight with Chen Hung. Soon, Chen Hung rushed out of this area, and then left this area. After walking out of the Sicilian collar, Chen Hung turned to leave the neighborhood and went to other places. The killing of Sorando did not cause him much trouble. After all, this is a year of war and chaos. There is no stability everywhere, and there are wars everywhere. Even within Salo, there are not a few nobles who died due to various accidents, let alone a mere knight. For those high-minded men, being a knight is too trivial and nothing at all. Chen Hung walked out of the Sicilian collar and existed as a mercenary in the following days. He called himself a wandering knight and formed a small mercenary group to fight for the lords and sharpen his martial arts in battles. Just like that, he spent several years in the chaos of war, until an accident, he died in a battle. Groggy, a feeling of darkness came, accompanied by a violent feeling. When Chen Hung opened his eyes again, he found that he had already returned to a place he was familiar with. Before his eyes is his previous room, all the surrounding furnishings are as before, without any change. He breathed a sigh of relief, and began to recollect his previous experience. In the previous simulation, he can be said to have spent a life that ordinary people can't imagine. Starting from an ordinary hunter, he kept moving forward, and eventually grew into a warrior who has experienced battles. This experience is obviously not something ordinary people can have. Sat on the head of the bed, Chen hung aftertastes for a long time, and finally healed, and continued to look in front of him. In front of his eyes, with his gaze, lines of writing began to emerge. The simulation has ended. Start settlement. A line of handwriting appeared in front of my eyes, and then in front of my eyes, scenes from Chen Heng's past experience began to replay and appeared before my eyes. You killed many people, and saved many people. You changed the trajectory of many people's lives in a small area, and brought permanent changes to that area. You are a skilled warrior, and your reputation is spread in a small area. Comprehensive evaluation, ordinary. The settlement is over. The number of points you have earned is 103 points. Points. Looking at the handwriting that appeared in front of him, Chen Hung couldn't help but feel surprised. Moreover, so many. He couldn't help but feel surprised. Earlier, he thought he wanted to get points, he could only get it by slowly boiling time. But now it seems that points can also be obtained in the simulated world, and as long as the performance is sufficient, the points that can be obtained will increase. He entered this world before, and the tickets he bought were only 20 o'clock. Now this time, it has doubled several times, and it has been directly earned back. I have to say, it's good news. In front of my eyes, the change still continues. A new line of writing emerged. You can choose to consume points and get back some of your belongings in the simulated world. The belongings include but are not limited to physical objects, talents, blood, skills. When this line of writing appeared, all the writing disappeared before my eyes, and something like a big turntable appeared. Suddenly, Chen Heng's eyes lit up. Can it be like this? He was a little excited, and he couldn't help but gain some interest at this time. Prior to this, he had been struggling in the simulation world for many years, and he had already honed his skills. In the original, it took some time to find these skills. But this way, I am afraid it will be much more convenient. He looked in front of him, and saw in front of him, on the big turntable, a number emerged. 20. Looking at this number, Chen Hung nodded. Is it the same as the ticket price? He nodded, then without much hesitation, he tried to nod. In front of my eyes, the big turntable began to rotate, and then under Chen Heng's gaze, it began to slowly fall. Suddenly, the field of vision in front of him changed again. When the pointer finally fell, the content on the big turntable finally appeared. You have acquired the skill, Hunter Solo's bow technique. The faint handwriting appeared before my eyes. Then, a light shrouded in an instant and rushed towards Chen Hung. Suddenly, in the memory, the picture of archery became clearer and clearer, and finally became more and more obvious. When the picture gradually disappeared, Chen Hung opened his eyes and felt it roughly. He looked at his arm. Originally, his arms looked very white, and there were no blemishes or marks on his palms. But now, without knowing it, his hands are already full of calluses, covering his palms directly. Pieces of calluses surfaced on his palm, looking like someone who has been trained for many years. This discovery made Chen Hung immediately aware. Sure enough, this so-called extraction technique directly replicates the level of simulated characters. In this way, it saves Chen Heng's own training and recovery time. Directly recovered his previous level. However, archery is not very useful for Chen Hung. It was fine in the simulation world before, but in this real world, how can there be so many opportunities to play bow? The usefulness of this technique is not too great. Then, Chen Hung raised his head and continued to look at the turntable in front of him. Then, he couldn't help frowning. I saw in front of me, on the turntable, the numbers on it had changed. Directly changed from 20 to 40, which was doubled. As the number of uses increases, the number of points that need to be consumed also increases. Chen Hung nodded, he understood the rules of this big turntable. He lowered his head for a moment, then continued to nod, and turned on the big turntable. In front of my eyes, the big turntable slowly opened. But compared to the previous time, this time the speed of the big turntable is much slower. In the end, under Chen Heng's gaze, the big turntable slowly dropped, and finally stopped at a certain position. You acquire the skill, Solo the Hunter's Forging Method. A faint handwriting appeared before my eyes. Looking at the handwriting that appeared this time, Chen Hung was taken aback, and then his face suddenly showed joy. A radiance enveloped Chen Hung just like that. Then, waves of changes began to take place. At this moment, Chen Hung only felt that a force was continuously growing from his body, and his whole body seemed to be reborn, possessing a terrifying power. Of course, this feeling is just an illusion, not a true feeling. But feeling this feeling, Chen Hung couldn't help but smile. In the real world, his body cultivation is ordinary. Although he has some foundation, it is still a long, long way away from mastering the forging method. Even though the experience of simulating the world can greatly shorten this period of time, Chen Hung estimates that it will take at least 3 or 4 months to train himself to perfect bodybuilding on the basis of the original foundation. Within 3 or 4 months, it has been an extremely astonishing speed to cultivate to perfection. However, since it can be reached faster now, it is naturally better. Feeling the power restored at this moment, Chen Hung smiled, feeling very unique. After the big turntable twice, the number displayed on the big turntable changed again. Directly changed from the original 40 to 80. Look at this, the law of consumption growth of this big turntable is not an increase of 20 points each time, but a direct increase in multiples. With Chen Heng's current points, he can no longer use the next turntable. Chen Hung raised his head and looked in front of him. Redemption points, 43. Earlier, the analog world got 103 points. The 2 big turntables used a total of 60 points. The remaining number is exactly this number. Chen Hung couldn't help but nodded. There are more than 40 points left, which happens to be the ticket to continue the simulation twice. Recalling the previous simulation gains, he couldn't help but feel a little moved, and continued to look in front of him. Please choose your identity. In front of my eyes, the familiar simulation interface resurfaced. As it was the previous time, Chen Hung continued to start the simulation, all the choices were the same as last time. But this time, nothing happened. The simulation has ended. A line of handwriting instantly appeared before my eyes. Suddenly, Chen Hung was taken aback. What's the situation? He looked at the handwriting that appeared before his eyes, and couldn't help frowning. The points have indeed been deducted, and there is no problem with all the choices. But why, the simulation is over before he officially starts? He was puzzled, so he looked in front of him carefully. Seemed to feel the doubts in his heart, before his eyes, scenes appeared. That is a person's past. In an ordinary mountain village, a baby was born and grew up here. Reading www.yuyuganshu.com. In the following years, the baby continued to grow like an ordinary child. Until when he was 7 years old, a group of robbers appeared and ransacked the village. During the looting, the child's parents were killed. Although he survived by chance, he lost the blessing of the village and was unable to survive in the wild. In the end, he starved to death. The scene ends here. Chen Hung was a little speechless. So that's it. He was a little surprised, and he understood the reason for the failure of the simulation. Before the simulation starts, there is an option to choose the simulation time, allowing him to freely choose the age when the simulation starts. But this feature is chargeable. Chen Heng still had some doubts before, and he didn't understand the use of this function. But now it seems that it is to prevent some accidents. There are endless possibilities for accidents in a person's life. From a baby to the default age of 20, there are so many possibilities. It is possible that a natural and man-made disaster, a fire, can make a life pass away. Once this result occurs, the character simulated by Chen Heng dies directly, and the simulation will naturally be declared a failure. Thinking about it this way, my previous luck should be pretty good. Sat on the head of the bed, thinking of all the experiences in the world before, Chen Heng felt a little speechless inexplicably. Having spent so many years in the previous world, he clearly knew the dangers of that world. The nobles may be fine, but ordinary civilians are really precarious, and their lives may be in danger anytime, anywhere. In this case, it is really difficult to make his simulated character grow up to 20 years old safely. I came to someone else's house and lived with a large group of people. I am really embarrassed about the code. I can only do this for one day. In the next few days, the days passed so peacefully. In the daytime, Chen Heng continued to attend classes, and at night, he ran to the deserted park alone to practice. High school students have a very heavy academic work, which is the same whether it was in the previous world or in this world. After Chen Hengwan finished his self-study, it was already very late. There are often no people outside at this time, so you can train with peace of mind. After a period of recovery, he has already recovered part of his state, and has recovered a lot. Remaining points, 45. During get out of class, Chen Heng looked in front of him silently. Unconsciously, more than 20 days have passed in a flash. For more than 20 days, the points on his body are still bit by bit, increasing firmly and slowly. Now it's 45 o'clock. And Chen Heng's recovery training is almost done. Basically, after a while, he is ready to simulate again for the next journey. Ling ling ling. The bells rang lightly, spreading from the outside world. When the class bell rang, the students around came back intermittently and returned to the teacher. After a while, a tall middle-aged man walked in. The man is tall, his muscles look very burly, and he looks very strong. This person is called Lu Lin, and he is the training teacher in Chen Heng's class. Of course, in Chen Heng's original memory, he was not a fitness teacher, but a physical education teacher. Ahem! Walked in from outside the teacher and stood on the podium. Lu Lin coughed a few times before speaking with a serious face, and said, that the math teacher is a little uncomfortable today. I will take this class. Looking at this scene, the faces of the students around him were numb, and they seemed to be used to it. Only the corner of Chen Heng's mouth twitched. At this time, there was an inexplicable sense of violation. When did Dalin, a physical education teacher who has always been frail and sick, be able to take other people's classes so confidently? I don't know if Lu Lin, who is in another parallel world, will tear his eyes when he sees this scene. Of course, there is something else. Seeing that the classmates below did not respond much, Lu Lin nodded in satisfaction, then clapped his hands. Then, outside the classroom, a thin figure silently walked into the classroom. That was a girl who looked very thin, and she looked pretty. She wore very rustic eyes and seemed a little silent. This is Lu Yi. I just finished the formalities yesterday, and I will be transferred to our class today. Looking at the many classmates below, Lu Lin said, "Welcome everyone." The voice fell, and a burst of enthusiastic applause quickly sounded. Chen Heng's class originally had many boys and few girls. It is rare to see a few lesbians on weekdays. At this moment, another female classmate joined in, just a warm welcome. Under the enthusiastic applause, only Chen Heng was stunned. He sat in his seat, looking at Lu Yi on the podium in front, with some doubts in his heart. In his previous life, he did not remember that such a transfer student arrived at this time. Is the difference in the parallel world, or the change he brought? There was some doubt in his mind. This thought could not help but flashed at this moment. But he didn't care too much about it. Perhaps it is Lao Lin's relative, he arranged to come over. He looked at Lu Lin on the podium in front, and this thought flashed through his mind. Under his gaze, Lu Yi was arranged to a corner by Lu Lin and just sat down. From the beginning to the end, he has been taciturn and looks exceptionally silent. Next, is the normal part of get out of class. Until the end, with the sound of the end of get out of class bell, the class is not over. Say here. Lu Lin did not leave immediately after listening to the end of get out of class bell. He just stood on the podium and continued to speak. Now it's only half a year before your college entrance examination. And next week, it will be time for the side again. You must know what this means, right? He stood on the podium and said with a serious face, while there is still time, students who have not reached the standard for basic training, hurry up to catch up. Otherwise, I missed the college entrance examination. Do you still want to wait for the next year? His face was serious and he said seriously. Hearing this, Chen Hung couldn't help being silent. In my previous life, the college entrance examination there was cruel enough. There is no mathematics for many years, just to get a good result in an exam. But in this world, the college entrance examination is even more cruel. In the previous life, the college entrance examination only needs to take your cultural class. After all, you will not be stuck because of your innate conditions. Even if you are a handicapped person with congenital limbs, as long as you get enough results, you can enter the top academy and always go up the ladder. But in this world, things are different. Wuyuk's status in this world is extremely lofty, even in the college entrance examination. In this world, people who are not qualified for basic training will not be admitted to those good schools. No matter how good your cultural class scores are, as long as your training scores are not enough and your energy and blood are not strong enough, then you can only go to those third-rate schools and have no chance with those top colleges. And this obviously also killed many people invisibly. All around, listening to Lu Lin's words, many people's faces were pale, and their faces were extremely serious. Chen Hung is okay, he doesn't feel any pressure. His results were already very good, but at this moment, he has already reached the perfect forging body through his previous simulation world tour. Forging the body to perfection, this level is not just talking. Not to mention the Linkhung No. 1 middle school in this district, even if the entire Linkhung can reach this level at his age, it is estimated that not many. With his current results, as long as the cultural class does not fall too far behind, he has firmly locked the doors of those prestigious schools. The trouble of going to Tsinghua University or Peking University, I can only think about it in my previous life, but in this life, I can really think about it. Of course, there is no Qingbei in this world, only other top universities. After the end of the class, Chen Hung got up from where he was, picked up his school bag, and left. Oh, what should I do? Walking on the road, a young man sighed and said, I will be on my side again soon. If you fail to pass the grade then, what should I do? There is still time, usually, make up more lessons. Looking at the boy, Chen Hung smiled and said softly, now there is still half a year before the college entrance examination. Don't be so stressed. Ugh. The boy sighed softly, and didn't know what to say at this time. The boy in front of him is named Liang Guo, a neighbor of Chen Hung and a good friend for many years. Because they live in one place, they usually bleed and often go back together. Yes, let's talk about it. Walking on the road, looking at Chen Hung, Liang Guo looked a little hesitant, but after looking at Chen Hung, he finally opened his mouth and said, last night, I seemed to see your sister. Your sister, she? My sister? Chen Hung was stunned, with the same expression on his face, and continued, what happened to her? I saw. she was with a man, pulling and pulling. Liang Guo said hesitantly, "It seems to be a quarrel. It's so noisy." Chen Heng frowned. Liang Guo sighed and nodded silently. "I'll go back and ask." Chen Heng also sighed, not knowing what to say at this time. Since childhood, his sister's reputation has been not very good. The reason for this has a lot to do with her own character. Since childhood, there have been too many opposite sexes with her. I don't know which one this time. However, the wave returns to the wave, but in fact, the relationship between Chen Heng and Chen Jing is pretty good. Since childhood, Chen Jing's relationship with other people in the family was very stiff, but Chen Heng was the only one who was pretty good, and the relationship between the two was very good. If possible, Chen Heng does not want to see what happened to Chen Jing. He made up his mind, returned home and asked privately to see if anything went wrong. However, when he returned home, he did not see Chen Jing. She? Going out fooling around again, right? Wang Li snorted coldly, while cooking. She hasn't been back since the night before, and she doesn't know where she went. Not even a message. The words fell, Chen Heng frowned. He said to Wang Li, You reading www.youcanshu.com is ready to leave. Be careful these days and try not to go out at night. On the side, Wang Li suddenly said, I heard that there are ghosts outside recently, and some places have monsters that eat people, which is very scary. She spoke like this, with some palpitations on her face, and repeatedly told Chen Heng not to go out at night. Chen Heng nodded silently, then returned to his room. After returning to the room, he tried to contact Chen Jing, but received no response. There was no response whether it was making a call or sending a message. This situation is very abnormal. The relationship between Chen Heng and Chen Jing has always been very good. Chen Jing may ignore other people's news, but it is unlikely to ignore Chen Heng. Sat on the head of the bed, Chen Heng frowned, not knowing what to say at this time. In the room, he stayed for a long time, then took a deep breath and went straight out. Walked out of the door, a cool breeze blew, with some grassy breath. At this moment in the outside world, it is already twilight, and the sun on the sky is setting, and the light looks dim. Pedestrians hurry around, and there are not many people walking. A cold air hovered around, making people frown. In this weather, Chen Heng was alone, walking around. According to his understanding of Chen Jing, he began to look around. 2 generations, he knows Chen Jing's past very well, and at this moment, he walks directly to the places she likes to go. I wandered past places one by one, but in the end nothing was found. By this time, the sky outside was already dark, and all around was dark, and only a piece of night was visible. A thin figure appeared in front. A thin figure appeared in front. Standing on an empty street, looking at the figure that appeared in front, Chen Heng subconsciously frowned. In the front, a girl stood there silently. She was a young girl who looked almost the same age as Chen Heng at the moment, but she looked like a high school student with a very thin body, as if the wind from the outside could blow it down. This person is not someone else, it is Chen Heng's classmate, the girl who has just transferred to his class, Lu Yi. Why is she here? Subconsciously, this thought flashed through Chen Heng's mind. Being alone in the middle of the night is not a good behavior, especially for girls. He was puzzled, and then he was stunned again. I can only see in the front, in the place where he originally stood, Lu Yi's figure has quickly disappeared and appeared in another place. So fast. Suddenly, Chen Heng was taken aback and felt unusual. There is no doubt that this speed is definitely not something normal girls can have. Lu Yi's body training is definitely not weak. Is definitely not the fragile appearance on the surface. Looking at the figure of Lu Yi striding forward in the distance, Chen Heng hesitated for a while, and then took a step forward and silently followed Lu Yi's footsteps. The breath of evil spirits. Walking on the road, feeling the familiar aura around him, Lu Yi sighed softly, recalling his experience inexplicably in his heart. Leaving from the family, she came to this remote city. She wanted to follow the steps and live as a normal person, forgetting the sad past. But I did not expect that this small city is not peaceful at the moment. The evil spirit that hides so well may be hidden from others, but it cannot be hidden from professionals like her. Feeling the breath of the evil spirit, she hesitated for a moment, and finally chose to move forward. Report to Moji and tell what you know. This may be the safest solution. But in this way, time will inevitably be delayed. In her induction, the evil spirit has already begun to act, and many people will be harmed by it tonight. After hesitating, she still chose to leave, silently moving forward. According to her own sense, she walked under an overpass. Then, she saw several figures. It was a man and a woman, pulling on the bridge at the moment, as if arguing. Look like this, it should be a couple. Quarrel between young couples, these things are normal in the eyes of ordinary people. But at this moment, this is something unusual. Lu Yi raised his head and looked ahead. Ahead, the man and the woman are not too old, the man looks around 25 or 6, and the woman looks younger, as if only in his early 20s. Among them, the woman's face seemed to be somewhat similar to Chen Heng, and it seemed to be somewhat related. But at this moment, Lu Yi didn't realize this. Her eyes were all focused on the man. In her sight, bursts of gloomy air appeared on the man's body. At this moment, the quarrel became more intense and began to become stronger. We have broken up. Shaking the man's hand off, Chen Jing's face was cold. What are you looking for me for? Quiet, you give me another chance, I know I was wrong, I will definitely not do it again next time. Being in front of Chen Jing, the man looked excited and tried hard to grasp Chen Jing's hand. Didn't you say before that you want to find a good martial arts teacher for your brother? My uncle is a good martial arts teacher. He is already a national registered martial arts student. You are with me now. I will ask him to train your brother when I look back. Please, I really can't lose you. He grabbed Chen Jing's hand, his expression was extremely excited. Looking at the appearance of the man, Chen Jing hesitated for a while listening to what he said, but then sneered again, it sounds good. You said that before, but when did you do it again? We are over. She shook her hand abruptly, so she shook the man's hand away, and then strode out. On the spot, the figure of the man stood there in vain. He looked at Chen Jing's back, his expression was a bit painful, he could only stretch out his hand weakly, as if he wanted to find something, but in the end he could not catch anything. Why? His expression was painful, with a little despair. Why, you want to leave me? Wisps of grey air continued to emerge, spilling out from the top of his head, but it could not be seen all the year round. On his face, as the grey air continued to gather, his face became extremely hideous. At this moment, it seemed that the whole person's aura had changed a little. Not good. Looking at this scene, Lu Yi's heart jumped in the distance, and bad thoughts arose at this moment. The human heart is devilish, the man in front of him has already been infected by the aura of the evil spirit, and at this moment he is in an extreme mood. He is about to be completely infected by the aura of the evil spirit and becomes a demon. In this street, once it turns into a demon, if no one stops it, the consequences would be unimaginable. Her heart jumped. At this moment, she couldn't worry about anything, so she wanted to jump out. Wow! A slight wind swept across, like a knife, making people feel cold. Feeling the movement coming from behind, Chen Jing turned around subconsciously, just in time to see a hand suddenly grabbing him. Then the next moment, she lost her will, and instantly lost all senses. On the flyover, Yu reading www. The original man of yuyuganshu.com disappeared, and a burly, huge monster stood alone. He is tall, just looking at it, he is at least 3 meters high, standing there like a little giant. stood alone, his face had turned black, with black meat strips surging constantly, looking extremely terrifying. Doesn't look like a person, but like a monster. I want to be with you forever. Standing on the sky bridge, he grabbed Chen Jing with one hand, his face was extremely hideous, and a huge mouth slowly opened. It seemed that he wanted to swallow Chen Jing directly. Boom! A faint ripple ran across, and a sword shadow ran across the void, cutting off the monster's arm in an instant. White arms stretched out, breaking through the obstacle in an instant, and holding Chen Jing in his arms. An old wooden sword swung down, the sword pointed forward. In the corner, Lu Yi's expression became stunned, and he was stunned at this moment. Just now, she was trying to make a move, thinking of saving people, but someone got ahead. And that person, she is not unfamiliar. I saw a boy standing alone in the front. The young man has a handsome appearance and a thin body, but he looks very tall and straight. At this moment, he is holding Chen Jing in one hand and the wooden sword in the other, pointing forward. His face was calm, his eyesight was sharp, with an inexplicable murderous aura, he looked at the tall monster ahead. Is only a teenager, but the sharp murderous aura and amazing courage are heart palpitations and make people feel a sense of oppression. This is my classmate. Looking at Chen Heng who was holding Chen Jing and standing alone, Lu Yi was stunned.